Coming off a championship run with the league's highest payroll, the Warriors are going to have to continue to spend big to keep this core together. The Warriors already lost some key role players and guys like Gary Payton II and Otto Porter Jr. over luxury tax reasons. And now the Warriors are going to have to figure out how they're going to keep Draymond Green, because Draymond Green reportedly wants a max extension, which is worth $138 million over the next 4 years. Now, is Draymond Green even worth a max extension, and should the Warriors give it to him? Let's talk about it. But before we continue, I'm trying to hit 10,000 subscribers by the end of the year, so please, if you enjoy the content, please like the video and hit that subscribe button. Now let's get started. For starters, let's discuss what a max contract is, because I think a lot of fans are confused about this term. Simply put, a max contract is the most amount of money a player is allowed to make under the league's current rules. A player that has 7 to 9 years of experience can make up to 30% of the team's salary cap, and a player that has over 10 years can make 35% of the team's salary cap, and that's what's called a supermax. Now, giving a player a max contract is a huge part of your team's salary cap, which is why they're usually only given to the league's all-star level players. If we look at the players in the league that have max contracts, it's mostly players in the league who have established themselves as all-star players. The Warriors already have Steph and Klay on max deals, and with Wiggins and Poole also soon to be in extension talks, it's understandable why the Warriors are hesitant to give a max contract to Draymond Green. The Warriors have a team payroll of $176 million last season, but after the luxury tax, that's a whopping $346 million team payroll. And Bob Myers was recently fined by the league for complaining about the league's luxury tax rules. So is Draymond Green an all-star caliber player, and is he worth increasing this already super high luxury tax bill? Draymond Green was an all-star last season, and he's made 4 all-star games in his career. But let's actually deep dive into his game to see if he's actually an all-star caliber player. Draymond's biggest strength will always be on the defensive end. He's simply one of the best defenders the NBA has to offer. He was all defensive second team last season and helped the Warriors rank second overall in defensive rating too. To really show Draymond Green's value to the Warriors last season, the Warriors defensive rating was 104 when he played and 112 when he didn't play. A defensive rating of 112 would have tied the Warriors for 18th in defensive rating last season, while a defensive rating of 104 would have put them at number 1 in the league. So the Warriors go from middle of the pack defensively when Draymond doesn't play to best in the entire league when he does play. How is it possible that one player can bring this much value on a defensive end? Well, Draymond is a Swiss Army knife on defense. He can legitimately guard 1 through 5 on the court and guard each position at a high level. There's very few defenders in the league that can lock down someone like Anthony Davis, but also switch on to someone like Jaylen Brown and lock him down. He's only 6'6", but he's strong and long enough to guard big men, but remains agile enough to guard perimeter players. His defensive IQ is second to none, knowing exactly what opponents are trying to do, which helps him to rack up steals. And lastly, his high level of intensity is infectious to the rest of the team, and he's extremely vocal, calling out defensive coverages and keeping his team locked in. He encourages the entire team to get after it defensively, so it's no wonder why the Dubs are so much better defensively when he plays. If basketball was just a one-way sport, then Draymond Green would easily be a max player, but defense is only 50% of the game, and great defenders typically don't get max contracts. Marcus Smart just won the Defensive Player of the Year, and he's the heart and soul of the Celtics, and nobody's talking about maxing him out. So what type of impact does Draymond Green have on the offensive end? Draymond Green is very crucial for the Warriors offense, despite his lack of scoring, and it's been that way for the entirety of the Warriors dynasty. His passing is a huge part of the Warriors offense. The Warriors initiate a ton of offense with Green in the high post, and he's great at finding open shooters and cutters. Green's passing ability really maximizes Steph Curry, where the Warriors like to put him off the ball and use Draymond to find him for open shots. He's also a terrific screen setter, where his big body allows the Warriors to free Steph up for open looks. And Draymond has mastered the fake handoff, where he fakes the pass and drives for a dunk at the rim. Draymond's 7 assists per game ranks 16th in the entire league last season, so he's clearly one of the NBA's best passers. But we also have to talk about how limited Draymond is as a scorer. He averages just 9 points per game for his career. He's not someone that can be relied upon to create offense, and when he does, it gets ugly. But because Draymond is surrounded with so much talent, this weakness gets hidden. Another big weakness in Draymond's game is his lack of shooting. He only shot 29% from 3 last season and shoots 31% from 3 for his career. Perhaps the backpack shooting form makes it difficult for him to have a smooth release. Either way, Green is pretty much a non-threat from the outside, which is why defenses tend to encourage him to shoot. But again, being surrounded by so many offensive threats hides this weakness. So overall, Draymond Green is a pretty limited offensive player, but the Warriors system perfectly hides his weaknesses while maximizing what he does do well on offense, which is passing and screen setting. On a different team, Draymond Green's weaknesses would probably get exposed, but the Warriors system is perfect for him. So back to the main question of the video, is Draymond Green worth a max deal? In a vacuum, he may not be as good as your typical all-star, but he's a huge part of the Warriors dynasty, and they probably would not have won the championship last season without him. We also have to consider the possibility that Dre could leave. According to Bleacher Report, Draymond Green could leave the Warriors when he hits free agency next year if he doesn't get the max extension he feels he deserves. So the Warriors will have to decide, is it better to overpay Draymond and face a bigger luxury tax bill, or let him walk for nothing? Sometimes teams will overpay their players because they know not having them is worse than overpaying them. For example, the Suns didn't want to give DeAndre Ayton a max contract, but once the Pacers signed him, they quickly matched that contract because they knew that if Ayton left, then their title window would quickly close. So the Warriors have to decide if they're willing to let Draymond Green walk, and as we've discussed throughout this video, he's a huge part of what makes the Warriors a championship team. So should the Warriors give Draymond Green a max extension? I'm gonna leave that up to y'all. If you were Bob Myers, the Warriors GM, would you give Draymond Green a max extension? Tell me in the comments. If you enjoyed this video, drop a like on the video and hit that subscribe button. If the Warriors can keep this core together, they can easily go into next season as championship favorites. Click this video to see why the NBA is terrified of the Golden State Warriors.